It was a little over a year ago that I gave an honest review about this monitor right here. Well, I do have a pair of them, but these are the ikMultimedia iLoud micro monitors. So yeah, a little over a year ago, I got these here in my studio and I have been using them for over the year. And back then I gave them a really glowing review, told you how much I loved them. Didn't really go into details too hard on the specs or anything, which I will do today a little bit. But I wanted to come back a year later and give you another honest review, what it's been like to work with these for a year. So right out of the gate, I should say, I still absolutely adore my iLouds. They are by far the monitors that I spend the most time on now. When I'm editing, when I'm doing like long sessions, I just turn these on and I leave them on. They're really easy on my ears, especially during the editing process where you don't need a ton of volume or anything. But even when you're EQing, they're excellent for that. I mean, they are genuinely flat. It is really surprising. We don't understand how they did it. They are really, truly good little monitors, especially if you are in an untreated mixing space. One of the things that makes these so cool is how small they are. So that means that they're pushing less air, that they're moving less air in your room. So to a large degree, if you use these monitors, they in effect remove the room from the process. And that's an important thing. You know, if you're using big 8-inch speakers in an untreated space, you definitely need to comprehend the fact that the monitors themselves are, messing with the sound in the room, obviously, right? And then the room is playing with that sound and then spitting it back to you in a different way than you really want it to. The nice thing about this right here is it doesn't move that much air. They call these super near field monitors, which means that they're really supposed to be about shoulder width apart and, pretty close to your head. So, if you think of like headphones or anything where there's tons of bass, the thing about that is there's not very much air inside of your headphone. So it can create that low end because there's not a lot of space. It doesn't need a lot of power to do that. Of course, when you start transferring into big monitors, they need to move a lot more air to make this sound happen. High end is a lot easier for speakers to deal with, whereas low end is much more complicated and requires a lot more push from the amplifiers and from the speaker. Now internally, this is just there is some sort of like resonating chamber in here, but one of the nice things about these is that there is no like resonance. You don't hear that resonant chamber like just resonating out of the side. You don't hear that. The low end on these is exceptionally good. It's not really thumpy. It's not gonna like, break your ribs or anything, but it is very tight and very accurate. You can totally hear the low end. There is no doubt about that. So again, I still love these things, and there are a couple of other things I want to talk about, and one of them is one of the things that I use when I'm shopping for monitors is something called the 3 dB down point, okay? The 3 dB down point is the frequency at which sound pressure levels are 3 dB lower than the reference loudness, right? So basically, it's the point at which the low end falls off and nothing will be heard below that. So it is called the 3 dB down point. Go ahead and Google it. You can definitely find a much more detailed explanation of what it is, but it's just one of those figures that if you're shopping for monitors, you wanna know what the 3 dB down point is on those monitors. It's gonna tell you a lot about how the low end is created in those monitors. The thing that is totally astounding about these, that 3 dB down point is at 55 Hertz. That is genuinely surprising for something this small, especially if you keep in mind that the lowest note on your average 4-string bass is around 40 Hertz, right? So if this, the low end drops off below 55, that is incredible, you guys. That is genuinely incredible. These little speakers, if you are in an untreated mixing space, these are absolutely the monitors you want to be using, especially if that mixing space is a small space. It can be a bigger space, but it definitely, if you're in a small space with big monitors, you probably know what I'm talking about. You've probably sat there going, these might be too big for the room. You're probably right. If you're in a small space with 8-inch monitors and that's the only source you have, you are definitely listening to the room more than you want to. These right here, because of the fact that they're so small and because of the fact that they do not push so much air, they essentially remove the room from that equation, right? It's an awesome reality of using small monitors. In the past, you know, like the Genelecs and stuff, they've been so brutally expensive. And yeah, they're great monitors, but they're just so cost prohibitive. You know, especially in my opinion, if you're like a home recording guy, I know we're all on budgets. None of us want to spend tons of money on monitors. We'd love to be able to, but we don't have it, right? These things, you guys, get these things. You will be so surprised at how much you love them. I think everybody who comes into my studio here, whenever I'm like using them, and most people will sit here for a minute and like listen to the mix, man, this sounds good, this thing sounds great. And then at some point they go, oh wait, those aren't the big monitors that we're listening to, those are those little ones? And I'm like, yeah, those are the little ones. Nobody can believe it. They're like, wow, I would have never guessed that these sound so good. So, you know, they're great. The other thing that I really do love about them is that you can mount them onto speaker stands. So if you know, your desk is small or whatever, you can just mount them on speaker stands. Again, you want them about shoulder width apart and about, well, let's use metric, about, I don't know, 40 centimeters, I think, from your head, something like that. But, you know, not too far from your head. You need them close. They're super near field monitors. So you need them close to your head and you don't want them very far apart. As you do widen them out, you will sort of, the low end dissipates a little bit, not terribly or anything, it's still totally usable. You get a bigger stereo image, of course, but it also widens out your sweet spot. So it depends on your space, it depends on all sorts of different things, but that's something you want to experiment with. But I think at like $299 for the pair of these, it is a deal. It is absolutely positively something you should be investigating if you're in the market for monitors. You know, this is an unsponsored video. 1000% this is unsponsored. I've received no money. That's it. ikMultimedia has no idea that I'm making this video. I'm just making it because I want you guys to know that these are worth your money. And that's basically it. These things are great. The high end is really clear, really nice and crisp. At no point is it brittle, and that is something I really love. For such a small tweeter like this, to not be brittle, mwah, love it, love it. So people at ikMultimedia, if you ever do watch this video, really great job on these monitors, you guys. Keep up the good work, and I'm very curious. I'm sure version 2 will be coming out at whatever point it does. I will still love these, but I'll be very curious to see what the new ones are like. And I am going to NAMM this year in Anaheim, California. So I will be over at the ikMultimedia booth at some point. I'm going to be asking them, hey, you know, are you going to be making any new ones of these? I'm super curious about that. But for now, I love them, and you should definitely check them out. If you are in an untreated recording space, an untreated mixing space, these are the monitors you want. Period. That's it. I can't really recommend anything else. In this price range especially, you will find nothing that sounds as good as these are. Nothing that is as useful as these are. These are designed for the home studio. They're designed for small spaces. They're designed for people like you and me, and that's why they work so well in a situation like mine, where this is just a little 10 by 10 room where I mix most of the time, and these things are absolutely killer in this room. So you guys, I don't want to talk about it much more because I think I covered everything now. I've talked about all sorts of stuff, and I hope that you got something out of this. If you got some Christmas money laying around, or who knows, maybe you got some extra Hanukkah money, who knows, maybe you got some extra money hanging around, you're looking for monitors, check these out. You'll love them, and you can come back and thank me later in the comments below. So you guys, have an awesome day. I hope you have a fabulous weekend. As always, if you want to hit that subscribe button, that'd be awesome. If you don't, not a big deal to me. It's always better if you like the videos, and if you dislike it, go ahead and dislike it twice, because that's always better, you know? So, all right, you guys, have an awesome day, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace and love.